NFC North. The offseason is coming close to a close. We got the draft not far away. Free agency, NFC North grades are coming up. Stay tuned. This is Money Pot. Let's go. Everybody back to another episode of Money Pod Podcast. The NFL Offseason crew is here. I don't like the switch up. C Sharp, get your ass back over there. I like that look a lot better. It messed me up for a second. I didn't like that at all. I like you to be on my left and Ernie be on my right.
I'm a lefty, man. I got to be on the left.
Yes, sir. So we have the NFC South ready to knock it out the park with our off-season grades. We're going to go through the whole regimen, top to bottom, giving you picks, talking about their picks, the drafts, their caps, all that good stuff. And, of course, I need my off-season gurus with me. C-Sharp fresh off the green. What's going on, Sharp?
Oh, man, life's good. Yeah, I'm not a huge basketball guy, so I thought the tournament was fun. I actually watched more women's college basketball than I did men's college basketball. I was rooting for both Big Ten teams. I'm a Big Ten guy. It didn't work out, but that's okay. I do like that basketball is kind of finishing, and now the NFL draft can take center stage, kind of with the NBA playoffs starting too.
Yeah, you know what? I threw you off too. I didn't give you your normal intro. You know, our own professional gambler, C-Sharp.
It's all good.
Threw it right at you. It's all good, baby. Ernie B, we are live. Back with your Eagles gear on. That's what I like to see. None of that plain white T-shirt Philly shit that you had on last week.
Come on, man. Come on.
NFC South. We are here. Ernie B, what's up, man?
To make it clear, that T-shirt was purchased from a gas station, so I do need to get some sort of credibility there. It was a fresh T-shirt at the gas station. So.
Sounds like Philly white T-shirt. That's what it sounds like.
That's $100.
$5. That's a NFL.
It was $4.95. So it's even miles away. It's the same process, baby.
I like it. And all for those who are watching, we're sorry a little bit late, shucking and driving, but we're here. Make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. Tell us how we're doing. Ask questions. Hit the comments. Call us out. If you don't like a pick or something we're talking about a team of eyes we grade or fix them, make sure you drop it in the comments. So without further ado, let's start off with the first team on the slate. And we are going with the Carolina Panthers right out the gate. Now, I had to tighten up these free agents because I got the list of free agents, and man, I mean, I swear they just signed their home team. But in their defense, one, they had the worst trade ever, and they gave away the first pick, right? With the trade with DJ Moore with Chicago. And they're picking only, I think, in the second round. And that's I'm getting mixed up. That's with New Orleans, who has like 4 fifth-round picks. But Carolina doesn't have a lot of picks, right? They only have like 6 or 7 picks, if I'm not mistaken, right? They don't have that many picks. I got to bring their picks up. I'll find that up just to correct myself. But looking at the list, excuse me, real quick here, Clowney just signed not too long ago. I don't know. They needed somebody to replace Burns. Somewhat Clowney at this stage of the age. This could be a hometown type deal, right? Going back to Carolina, and at least in the area for him. Dante Johnson, they traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then they went to the big fellas in the middle with the interior line. Robert Hunt got paid, $100 million contract. Damian Lewis, another guy who got paid. Then they started, bringing up some backups. And the one thing that I liked about this, what Dave Canales is doing out there in Carolina that I was seeing, he looked at his staff, and he started signing guys that his staff is familiar with, right? Anshawn Robinson, they're familiar with. Jose Jewell, DJ Wanham.
DJ
Wanham. Close.
Yep. DJ Wanham and Josie Jewell.
Getting better. Was close on that one. And the list kind of goes on right here with them. So they did what they needed to do for Young, right? Getting that offensive line outside of Sam Howell. he was the second most sacked quarterback in the league. So they had to fill up that offense line. Now, some people say what I was reading, they overpaid for Hunt, but they had the cap space. They had the money to spend. They got their number one pick on a rookie deal. We've seen this before with the quarterbacks on the number one deal. So you go out and try to pay guys and stuff like that. Then you get the receiver that they really wanted, but even though Dante Johnson is probably an upgrade for what they already have. But, Sharp, I'll go to you first. Looking at this team as it's constructed right now, do you like where David Canales is going, the new head coach there, coming from Tampa? I'm sorry, coming from Tampa over here. Do you like the direction that they're going with the limited, limited draft picks they have, but a ton of cap where they at? Or would you say they still got a lot of moves more to make?
Well, I kind of look at the Panthers two ways. So let's just wipe the slate clean, right? We already know DJ Moore was a bad decision. We already know trading up and not just settling on, you could call it settling now, however you want to do it. I think being a quarterback is circumstantial. We can get into whether or not CJ Stroud would have been CJ Stroud on the Panthers. Probably not. He probably wouldn't be as good as he was with the Texans. Probably would Bryce Young be better with the Texans than he was on the Panthers? Yes, I don't think that's a stretch. Remove all those kind of things. Remove the fact they gave Christian McCaffrey. Just remove all the bad decisions they made. Remove the fact that they had to sell Brian Burns at a low point because they were in a situation where they couldn't overpay for a pass rusher. They should have paid him a year earlier and locked him up for 5 years. Then now they had to pay him at the top of the market for a team that's not ready to win. So I do like the fact that basically they paid 3 guys what they would have cost Burns. Essentially, when you look at the cap hits and cash, Damian Lewis, Robert Hunt, and Jadeveon Clowney is basically the same price as Burns. When you think about it like that and you do the 3-for-1 special and 2 of them directly impact your young quarterback, I do think that is a good move. Remove what you got for him. You probably didn't get the proper compensation. The Giants luck out in that aspect. However, let's just start from there. Everything they made in the past was terrible, and that set them up for failure now. Are they going to be bad this coming year? Yes. But I do think at least their moves now put them in a position to start to evaluate Bryce Young properly. They couldn't block for him. And if you can't block for a 170-pound quarterback, he's in trouble. They had no receivers. They couldn't establish the run game. So you really couldn't put anything on Bryce Young. For people out there that say Bryce Young stunk, I don't know what they were watching, because there's like 30 quarterbacks that would have stunk for the Panthers last year, given what he was given. I thought he hung in as tough as he could. And I thought that was actually admirable. He never walked off. He never quit. He never pouted. To me, that says a lot about the kid. I love what they did, actually. I think this team's ready to take a jump. I just think the fact they don't have a first-round pick is devastating in the best draft in a long, long time. Take away Caleb Williams. Like, the fact they're missing on a Marvin Harrison Jr. or a Malik Neighbors is just devastating for this quarterback. So they just need, fingers crossed, man. They need an AD Mitchell. Who this is a guy I've been pounding the table on. To me, he's my wide receiver 4, and I think he's actually almost every bit as good as Aroma Dunze. I think if he had a Michael Penix slinging the rock to him or a Jaden Daniels slinging the rock to him, I think Quinn Ewers was a little scattershot game to game, and I do think AD Mitchell would have been up there as a top 2-3 receiver. So if a guy like AD Mitchell falls to them, I do think Carolina is on the uptick. Although they're just a really bad team, it's hard to say they're in a worse spot than they were last year.
RDB, I'll switch it over to you. From what we're looking at now, and we kind of switch gears with the receivers, as Sharp was saying, like, receivers a big deal. They pick 33rd or 32nd. I forget which one.
They pick 33rd, so they're going to pick the day. So after all the first-round picks go and the board resets, they're going to get that first guy.
Who's there for them to take, Ernie B, you think? Who might be there for receiver that you think? The way, you haven't done your mock, so that's coming, right? We still got to see if we can fit that in somewhere, hopefully, so we know how you look at the board, especially with all the changes and all the free agency. But what you feel right now, how you feel the draft board, what are some players there from at least the receiver standpoint is going to be there for them to pick in the top of the second round?
First off, as a Carolina native, can I thank
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
T-Sharp for just absolutely destroying that Panthers analysis. I mean, he hit every point I could have thought of.
Yeah, that's why I didn't ask you the same question.
That's what I'm saying.
I knew you were going to say that.
Nailed it. And he brought up AD Mitchell. The only thing I have to say is one thing before I even get into what I'm about to say is if the people are looking at the Panthers roster and you go like where we sit today, the Panthers out of I think disparity might be the word. They signed Jordan Matthews and Tariq Cohen to futures deals. Okay. What that tells me is that they understand where they are as a whole. They have got to just put bodies on the field. They've got to do what they got to do. Now, pick 33 is very interesting. Xavier Legette is the first name that comes to me, and it's not because of the AD Mitchell, in my opinion. I think Sharp is on there, but
is Mitchell going to last that long? Though?
What's that?
You think Mitchell lasts that long?
I mean, I don't. It's going to be, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a QB, wide receiver, offensive tackle driven first round. So we'll see. But I do think there's depth at wide receiver that could benefit the Panthers. A guy like AD Mitchell would be awesome for him. Now, as far as like the name that stands out to me would just be Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. And it's not because of the tape for me. It's because of the lack of security this front office has in their position and that they are not able to take as many risks on certain players. You know what I mean? I think Legette. What's that?
I don't agree with that though. I mean, and the reason why I say I don't agree with that because they got so much cap, right? They can afford to swing a little bit, right?
The Panthers the Carolina Panthers are 22nd in cap right now with $8.97 million. So no, they have no money.
Oh well, now I guess because they spend it all. I guess
no, they dude. I'm telling you, they're cornered. They have to do what they have to do. They have to sign Jadeveon Clowney. They will sign Stephon Gilmore. I mean, if we could bet on that, it'd be fantastic, but you can't. It's just they're getting by, and they're getting by in the best way that they can. I do think that Sharp is 100% correct in the fact that the evaluation of Bryce Young is not complete. And I agree with everything he said about the Stroud Young thing. We don't have to get into that. But the Panthers, man, I mean, they don't have money and they don't have picks. So they're stuck in a really tough position because this draft is so loaded. Like pick 33 means everything to them. If they don't, I literally texted a buddy of mine this morning. I said, if the Panthers do not nail this draft, they are fucked. And excuse my language, but that is it. If they do not nail this draft, they just don't. They've really got to get their most out of the picks that they have. But
all right. Well, let me ask you a question. If it's not receiver, what would another draft? What would another position like? Name a player, a position, or a player you would think. Like, say the wide receiver board just isn't there for them, and they decide to wait because they do pick at the top of the third. So I mean, they could
take. They have that was. Yeah, and Sharp, you're going to know better. You would know better than me. But was Joey Porter top last year's round?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're talking about a guy that's probably got some first round grades from people that's delving into that second round. I mean, the position that's not getting talked about enough for the Panthers is cornerback. They have a lot invested in J.C. Horn. That is.
I was about to say, even with J.C. Horn there,
not a lot of return on investment there, man. And J.C. Horn, as Sharp knows, is one of my personal guys. That was one of the first guys I, really stood on during the process. And they signed Dane Jackson out of Buffalo, so they got a little insurance. But I know for a fact they're interested in Stephon Gilmore. There's mutual interest with Clowney trying to kind of get the whole Carolinas thing going. But I would say corner is the other position, and I think it's kind of looking at both those. I think they mirror themselves. I think it's wide receiver or corner, take BPA, whichever one's there, you go forward and you do what you have to do. The roster's that bad.
I wonder, I guess the guy that keeps popping into my head is a Peyton Wilson.
And you know what the thing is, though? You can't discount this team for dipping into their hometown realms. And I can't knock them for it. You're talking about Shaq Thompson's getting older, and he's been paid a lot of money. Shaq Thompson's got a lot of money over the years inside linebacker.
I just wondered, because I feel like when you look at when you look at Peyton Wilson, man, like
but
it's hard. It's hard not to see. It's hard not to see Luke Kuechly when you watch him, and so I could just see the Panthers being like, they could just easily like, because his medical's checked out. So I could see the Panthers being like, dude, screw the medicals, we'll take him. Because I will say this,
isn't that high for a linebacker though?
No, I will but let me finish real quick. Removing medical grades, removing position, just going on my big board, which is me personally. My big board is just, I lean heavy tape evaluation on that. Peyton Wilson is a top 20 player in this draft, not like overall top 20. He's that good. People talk about Edgerrin Cooper, and I see a big gap between Peyton Wilson and Edgerrin Cooper. I know a lot of Eagles fans out there. Edgerrin Cooper's kind of that buzz name, which is cool. I would like Edgerrin Cooper at pick 50.
He's a very
but to me, there's a gap. Like, there's nothing that Edgerrin Cooper does better than Peyton Wilson, and Peyton Wilson does everything better than Edgerrin Cooper, like at being a football player and a linebacker. So, okay, go ahead.
One thing I would say about Peyton Wilson is just, aside from medicals and everything, his coverage ability for his size is exceptional. So, his ability to move is awesome. Now, one thing I want to say about that whole situation is, I agree with you, Sharp, but it's, what they say versus what they do. And they did invest money in Josie Jewell, which is not a lot. I mean, it's not a lot of money. Jose Jewell, as Nate calls him. Shaq Thompson. Shaq Thompson has been getting a lot of money for a lot of years, and that's why I kind of am going to come back and validate what Sharp is saying, is because, honestly, Nate, I mean, if we see a change here where, I mean, Thompson is there because he has to be there, and Peyton Wilson going to the Panthers, if there's a way to, I don't know exactly what the prop would be there, but if it's offerable, I really think that is a genuine consideration for putting a lot of units on as far as the bet goes. I'm serious. Sharp.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I'm going to say one thing. The Carolina Panthers aren't as smart as you think they are. And how many pro teams around this state tend to stick around with the ACC? And I'll stop at that. Just go look at the record. I mean, the evidence is in the proof is in the pudding.
Well, my thing is this. I think you both hit on it, right? Receiver is a huge need, right? I think Wilson makes sense, and he's would you call him a blue chipper, Sharp, from your evaluation, or he's just a good player?
If you remove medical, it's hard, with a guy with medical issues like that, it's hard to put him in a blue chip category. Same with Latu. But if you were to remove injuries from both those players and you just trust the tape, yes, blue chip, no doubt about it. There's nothing those two can't do on the football field.
Okay.
You traded for Deontay Johnson. You pay Adam Thielen. You drafted Jonathan Mingo in the second. You drafted Terrace Marshall in the second. I'm not. It's
to me though, none of those moves stop you from taking an AD Mitchell, like, at all.
But
I would say
to me. Go ahead. AD Mitchell to me is the perfect pick. Like, they would just, like, I think if you were to ask the GM, now I don't know who's calling the shots in Carolina on draft day. I think if you were to ask the decision makers for Carolina, I think AD Mitchell would probably be the guy they would hope falls to him. But I just, I was throwing out Wilson, a couple other positions, just because, obviously you can't guarantee your guy's going to be there at 33. And I don't think they're in a position to make a trade up for anybody. They have so many holes, so they kind of just got to stick and wait.
They are doomed to stick and pick. They have no option.
I like Leggett. I like the conversation about Leggett being there.
Leggett's another safe thing. You got to understand, though, they tend to be safe. It's just, I don't know. I get into a whole rabbit hole about it. It is.
What do you mean about safe?
I mean, these teams tend to stick to local players more than most.
I guess that to me is not safe, but I do think AD. I thought you were going to say something. I thought you were going to say something different.
No,
so you're just going off proximity.
That word for them saying that it's the right decision. What I'm saying is it's actions speak louder than words. They do what they do.
Yeah, I would use, instead of safe, I would use proximity. Like, they do target proximity. Safe to me, when you get into safe, when you're talking to prospect, you're talking about character, or you're talking about
I'm not talking about generically how I view a prospect. I'm talking about how the Panthers view their decisions.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying they feel safe to take ACC players. Amare Barno was you can go on the list. I mean, they've done it time and time again.
Yeah, proximity. They look close to proximity. And I think that's a large part because they go cheap on scouting departments, so they can't afford to have scouts all over the country. Like big scouting. So if you were going to get into that aspect, then I understand what you were saying.
They had J.C. Horn over Patrick Surtain in that draft.
I could see that, I guess. A.D. Mitchell's definitely got some red flags, too. Some people, that's the one thing I'll say. A.D. Mitchell and Malik Neighbors, they have some off-the-field stuff. Not, like, terrible, but just, like, you probably got to watch them.
I've not read, but I've heard.
And Neighbors more than Mitchell there. Neighbors is definitely the guy that, like, he could go to a certain city and unravel pretty fast.
I agree with that.
There's a lot of Antonio Brown in him.
You can't count out Stephon Diggs on that. Remember his drop.
Yeah, there's a lot of Diggs in him, too. Did we lose Nate? We probably lost Nate.
I think we did.
Yeah.
So the fans know Panthers suck. They're going to suck, but don't think all is lost because Matt Rule was a disaster. And the post-Frank Reich era was just very good. But I have hope for Canales. I like Canales in that situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't. That coach has got no. I don't know how anybody could be happy about that hiring. Not saying it's going to work out or be bad. I just don't think he's the guy to right the ship. But
did you see what Matt Rule said about Bill Belichick today?
No, I don't get into it. Remember, I'm removing myself from all the fodder. I don't. That's not my thing.
It's so funny. He goes on like 2 minutes, doing what he's doing about how he came and spoke to the team or whatever.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't worry about any of that stuff.
My bad, fellas. I don't know what happened.
You're all good.
That was weird. It just kind of. But let me bring everything back up. Go ahead.
We're done with the Panthers. If you want to move on to who's next?
Your mom.
Yo, I'll get off this fucking live right now, bro. Like, you pressing me about my mom?
I'm just kidding. I did want to think they were in 2-15 last year. They had 4.5. Mm-hmm. I was looking at in terms of the betting line for them for regular season wins. I feel like that's kind of high.
No, I think that's in a good spot. I actually think they could be a 5-win team.
You think so?
They'll steal some games. That division is awful.
Yeah, I mean, you got to just think they added like 9 professionals to their roster, like that have like pelts on the wall that are decent players. Like that alone's got it, and they added depth. I mean, we'll see. It depends on their draft. I mean, that's why that's not a number that I'm looking at one way or the other right now. Just I'd have to wait and see the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say. I was just.
There's certain teams that I've already talked about, like Giants, you fade, Eagles, you pound.
We did talk Jets pre Stephon Diggs trade, just so
and the Texans. Jets you take to win the division. Texans you take to win the division. Texans you take to win the conference.
I have the Jets friends.
Giants are guaranteed to pick top 5. Like you could take that to the bank. They're going to be terrible. The Eagles are going to fall into 12, 13 wins. I mean, those are like the bets to be looking at for sure.
For sure. All right, next on the list. Oh, the Saints. So I did my research on the Saints, and they had a lot of 1-year deals on folks. So I just put Chase up there because he was the marquee name. Obviously, Mike Thomas and Winston. What I didn't know about the Saints that I learned doing some research is how bad they were in cap hell. I didn't know how bad they were in cap. So I went back and kind of looked, and they had a lot of dead cap from Thomas and even Jameis Winston, I'm sorry. And then they had to redo David Carr's deal to kind of relieve some of the cap that they had, because I think they were over almost 40 million over the cap. But outside of Chase Young, they signed let's see, Olise Meka Udu, offensive tackle. I don't know if that was even close. Jonathan Abrams, Stanley Morgan. I mean, Cedric Wilson Jr. might be a name some people might know from the Miami Dolphins. Nate Peterman's been a journeyman for years. Willie Gay from KC. So, but all to 1-year deals just because they're so cap strong in terms of what they can do moving forward in for the year. So they're kind of stuck at where they are in terms of their team, in terms of their roster. They really can't do too much there. So switch it up a little bit. Ernie B, even on the list is light here from what we can see. What do you think? How do you look at this Saints team right now going into this upcoming season? And from what they've done to get themselves, which is crazy because the cap went up the most it has at all ever, and they were still find themselves 40 million in the hole. From what they've done so far, what do you think how the Saints have done so far in this free agency?
I want to say it clearly. I'm going to say it one time. Saints stink. For my diehard Birds fans out there, they have Hugo Amadi at backup nickelback. They have a lot of lack of depth in the back end. I mean, the corners and safeties are, pretty low. They signed Willie Gay. Chase Young was fine. I think he had to get a procedure done or whatever before the contract. I don't know. Nate, they stink, man. I mean, I don't know. I think they're going to sustain, maybe win. I don't know what their win total is, but they're going to win some games just because of what they have. The fact they retained Dennis Allen was kind of surprising. I don't know what they're doing, to be honest with you. I feel like this is just kind of a wash year for them.
They always are kind of still competitive. It looked like it wasn't a fit. Like at first I thought it was a fit for David Carr, but then had so much, kind of turmoil, kind of sounded like, over the last year or two about him just not really being like a locker room fit. And I think with his cap, I think he's like 50 million against the cap or something crazy. They had to redo. Sharp, I know you know about the cap a little bit more and how these franchises are done. Is David Carr done this year? And is almost time, like they're about to hit the reset button in New Orleans?
No. So there's been a few times in these shows we've done the division whip around where Ernie B has liked to use the term purgatory. And I always reserve it for one team and one team only, because there's only one team that's always in purgatory, and it's the Saints. No team likes to credit card spend, meaning they pay cash today to use the cap tomorrow to win 9 games. They never want to win 3 games. Since Drew Brees left, they don't ever want to win 11 or 12 games. They love to win 7, 8, or 9 games. They will literally mortgage their future. They will pull from their rainy day fund to make sure they win 8 and 9 games. I guess if you had a parallel in the AFC, it'd probably be the Steelers, right? The Steelers under Mike Tomlin refuse to be terrible to the point that they can get the quarterback that replaces Big Ben. It's similar with the Saints. They refuse to be bad to the point that they can replace Drew Brees. They just go all in on 8, 9 wins, 10 wins, and they're always in cap hell. So because of it, they already overpaid Derek Carr. And what do they have to do? They had to make it worse by restructuring his deal just to get cap compliant. So now Derek Carr has an astronomical dead cap, not only this year, but into next year. Now, we've already seen NFL teams don't really care about that. I mean, we've seen with the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson as the latest just totally not care and just tank. I don't know if the Saints will be willing to do that next year. They've never been willing to tank, so time will tell. But Derek Carr, $60 million cap hit next year. That'll be curious to see what happens. As for this year, they're going to be who they are. They're not bad enough to be bad. They're not good enough to be good. If they have a decent draft, they'll probably win 10 games. If they have a bad draft, they'll probably win 7 games. It's just who they are. They're going to have some fantasy players that are relevant, and that's about it.
Yeah, I don't have
So,
much on
right.
them. I really don't. I did like when I looked at them and I was like, oh wow. I was like, this is where they are. I really didn't have much. I agree with the funny thing is when I was doing my research, I was thinking the same thing you both kind of just echoed was the purgatory. Like they're just like right there, right in the middle. But they do have a higher draft pick at 14, if I'm not mistaken. So Ernie B. They did bring on Chase Young. I've always, Diddy and Sharp, we've always had this back and forth where I'm the one taking blunt of it. I always call Chase Young a bust. I think Chase Young is a bust because he was a number one pick, and I don't feel like he's lived up to that hype yet. Even though he's there now, I think when I did my mock, I think I had them taking Verse, defensive line, Florida State there. Do you feel they still go defensive line even with the Chase signing, or do you think that they move in a different direction?
Well, you're talking about a team that traded up for Chris Olave in 2022. Pass rusher seems like I could see it, but Verse, I'm not trying, spook any mock things, but I think Verse at 9 makes a little bit of sense just because he fits 3-down stance better than a stand-up. But the Saints play the same. I mean, similar to Cam Jordan. I just don't think he makes it to them. If he does, then good for them. They, Verse would be fine.
Who's at 9? Because Atlanta's at 8, right?
Atlanta's at 8. Bears are at 9.
Oh, Bears at 9. Bears, okay.
Yeah, it's just because Eberflus runs a true 4-3. So
Yep.
Versus numbers out of a true 3-point stance compared to stand-up are completely different. So,
yep. So who do you think they target there?
Dude, I'll be honest with you. I mean, they have like, if I had to pick a player, if you're telling me Jared Verse is there, then yeah, I'm running the table. I'm taking Jared Verse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he gets a year to learn under Cam Jordan. Like, of course, I don't. Think I actually think they're gonna. I could totally see them going. I don't know. They have a lot invested in their O line as far as draft capital, but I could see them dipping back into that. I think the Saints are a team that could do offensive line.
Troy from Washington. Sharp loves that guy.
Oh, Troy Fontanu for sure.
Is it Fontanu? Is that how you say it?
Fontanu. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Fontanu would be perfect here. I mean, that would be like a perfect pick for the Saints. Like if they could get Fontanu, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, I don't
think Penning is.
You think it's too high for him, Sharp, at 9?
Oh no, absolutely not.
No, 9 would be the Bears. 14 would be the Saints.
I'm sorry, 14.
No.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, that's not too high. I think that would be awesome. I think offensive line is definitely in play. They've got a couple decent guys, but I think that's definitely in play. And then, I mean, pass rushers right there. I've been mocking Latu to them. He's to me, he's the best all around pass rusher in the draft.
Yes.
Yes. I do think Dallas Turner's your best. Him and Chop Robinson are your stand-up 240, 250-pound, 3-4 outside linebackers, but on rush downs, maybe they come off the field. And then on 3rd and 4th downs, they just, rush like banshees. I think versus your prototypical edge setter, he's like a Josh Sweat on steroids. He's probably a guy that maybe only gets 8 or 9 sacks, but he's a devastating run defender. So I think he's a guy that fits exactly what the Bears like to do. And I also think he's a guy that fits what the Saints like to do. And then I think you're looking at Latu, who's a little bit of both. He's the guy that when you watch on tape, he's got the double hand chop. He's got the overall. He's got the single arm over. He's got the underarm single arm jab. He's got like the ghost kind of where he fakes like he's going to bull rush and then just kind of ghost rushes up and under. So I mean, you're talking about a guy who knows how to set up a pass rusher and then knows how to go work off that all game long, like a true pro's pro. So I think he's a guy that could play immediately and be an impact player. So I think they would run to the table if a Troy Fautanu fell to them or if a Latu fell to them, they would be like jumping for joy.
We should just mention that Latu is the one of the medical guys for this cycle.
He is, but I've heard it's 2 years checked out, and he's played 2 full years.
Was it I think it was Dr. Watkins that did the surgery.
Yes. So Washington wasn't Kate. What Washington? What
right there, doctor? We know these doctors too. Who's Doctor
There's
Watt?
one guy that does like all the big neck stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's why he transferred. That's why he transferred to UCLA, because that doctor does most of his surgeries out of LA. So he transferred to UCLA because Chip Kelly, obviously Chip. The one thing I'll give Chip Kelly, he does know his medical stuff. He totally revamped the Eagles medical staff and how they worked on training for the better. And so he's right. There is a certain surgeon. He did fix Latu Latu.
But it was credited. What I'm getting at is the fact that surgeon did the surgery has cleared a lot of teams' worries about past medicals.
I don't think it's that.
There's a media presence in that, the fact that he has a major medical red flag, but I think right, he's that.
I think it's the 2 years. I think it's the back-to-back years of. I think it's the back-to-back years of not having any medical issues. That's kind of the thing.
Also, being the best pure pass rusher of the entire class.
For sure, 2 years in a row. Well, not 2 years in a row, but this year.
Well, I mean,
just Nate, it. Like, you're a guy that appreciates a pass rusher with a plan, like not a guy that just solely goes on bull rush or relies on simply speed rush and timing. Like, he's a guy that has a plan. Like, he's going to set the tackle up, and he might do something 3 times knowing it's not going to work, because then in the fourth quarter, when he absolutely has to have it, he's going to go to whatever he knew got stopped. The tackle's going to bite on it, and then he pulls something he hasn't used all game and gets that one sack.
He stands out as a pass rusher, absolutely. When you watch
for
him,
sure.
Oh yeah,
he's a problem. I love the pick for him. I think we talked about this before, Sharp. He's not Jordan, but he's similar with Jordan there. But yeah, I like the conversation that we stretched out for nothing to talk about with the Saints.
Of course.
Who's up next? Oh, the Bucks.
Ooh.
And the picture didn't fit in there, so I apologize for the ugly graphic. The Bucks. So obviously there was talk about Mike Evans not even coming back, but obviously he didn't go too far. They got Baker back, Randy Gregory, Winfield got the tag and lost. Jensen, which is huge. He retired. Devin White, as you guys know, went to the Eagles, and you see I was rushing Shaw Barrett, Shaq Barrett. Shaquille Barrett left as well. When I look at this,
you left our boy Sua Opeta out, the former Eagle, former Pittsburgh Steeler, Tampa Bay Buccaneers did sign him. He is their starting guard. Good football player.
Left guard, man. Starting left guard, Sua Opeta, where he wants to be.
University, man. It's ridiculous what he can do with a guy once he gets his hands on him. I did. It was only one. It was 1 year though. So I guess is that a fill-in for the year, and then maybe he gets re-signed, or I guess we'll start right there. We've seen this over this whole division, a lot of 1 year deals, and the cap went up. So Sharp, what do you see here as these teams are doing a lot of 1 year deals, are just filling holes, trying to get by? But we know the cap went up this year. We obviously know, with all the money that the NFL is going to be making, especially with the global expansion really starting to take full front, more money's coming in. Why so many 1 year deals for some players that might be able to be, a starter? Is it all prove-it deals for all these guys? What do you think?
I think it has a lot to do with how NFL teams look inside the division out. So, you don't always build your team to beat the Chiefs, right? You don't always look at the top of the mountain and then build your team to beat that. Because if you're in the NFC, you might not even ever get to the Chiefs. And if you build your team to beat the Chiefs and everyone in your division plays a different style of football, you might not even get out of your division. So when I look at all these teams in the division, I don't think any team has a young quarterback that's ascending that they know for sure is like a guy that for the next 5 years they can go on a run where they need to defer money. So I think you're looking at a team like the Bucks who thinks they can win now with Baker, but they don't know that Baker's a stud for the next 3 to 4 years. I think when you're looking at our last team, similar with Cousins, I think when you're looking at Bryce Young, they hope he's good, but they have no idea what they have. And then team we just talked about is always in purgatory. Derek Carr is similar to what we have here with Baker Mayfield, but probably a little less upside. So I think all these teams have a chance to win the division, but that doesn't mean they have a chance to actually do something special with their season. So I think it's kind of like everyone's dipping their toes in the water, but no one wants to dive in the deep end.
Okay.
That's a damn perfect explanation of this division.
Yeah, I do agree with you there. I just, it'd be interesting to see, some more insight of just how they go about that. I'm looking at, we just talked about like Opeta, right? I'm looking at Opeta's numbers, and he registered a 90.9 pass block win rate, right? Surrendered. Well, I guess that's not that good. Surrendered
At
6
which
sacks and
position,
277.
Because with him,
he's a switch guard, right?
No, he's not a switch guard.
He's not a switch guard. I thought he played.
I don't know
which
which
left and right guard.
I don't know which side he prefers, but it is a fact that he prefers one side over the other. I can't remember if it's left or right. I'm 90% sure it's left guard. His numbers from left guard would be his best.
Yeah, sure. I could play left sides of the defensive line, but I'd rather play left side, right?
Yeah.
But I could play both if I wanted to. But no, I get what you're saying. So I mean, you got the mic here, you got the comm here, Ernie B. Looking at what they've done so far, obviously they bring Baker back. They feel like they, obviously surprisingly overachieved last year, right, for this team. For them to get to the playoffs and get a playoff win against our Philadelphia Eagles, which we all called.
I'm gonna stop you right now. They're the Giants of 22, man. That's all it is. It's just get hot at the right time. It's a get hot at the right time. You have some veterans in the right place. It's not. Next year, I mean, this division is the Falcons.
They can win the division. That's all they need to do.
No,
right?
I'm saying win the division. They don't have it, man. They just don't have the talent. They just have years of. They have years of drafting players that did not supplement those that they lost. And I think it comes down to guys like, now this is the prove it year for Tryon Shoyinka, Kalijah Cansey, Logan Hall still has to become something. I mean, Vita Vea is great, but he can only be what he is. You know what I mean?
The big fella in the middle.
I love Vita Vea, but I mean, you got KJ Britt coming in.
Reminds me of Gilbert Brown.
I'll put it to you like this. I think the Buccaneers draft a linebacker in the first 3 rounds. I would bet money on it. They're going to take a linebacker. They value that position a lot. So they're going to take a linebacker.
I agree. They've always had one.
Yeah, that's just kind of the thing. I mean,
I would think that pick 57 is in a really good range for where we're going to see that kind of top tier linebackers go. We've talked about Peyton Wilson. We've talked about Adrian Cooper. I think you can hear a guy like Junior Colson. That's a guy from Michigan. That's probably in his range. There's a guy, a Gray from North Carolina, a Ford from Texas. I do think that pick 57. Wallace is another name for sure. I think if Junior Colson's there, Junior Colson at 57 feels like a no-brainer if he was there.
You don't think Wilson fits this?
I don't think Peyton Wilson has it. Yes, they would love Peyton Wilson. I don't think him or Cooper is going to make it here.
Okay.
Randy Gregory, by the way, man, you could have shouted out Bryce Hall over Randy Gregory. All right, and that's all I'm going to say. Randy Gregory is a rotational pass rusher to Bryce Hall.
Well, I will say they do. They drafted a young kid from Louisville last year, Yaya Diaby, who they like a lot. And towards the end of last year, he was really coming on. And I do think they expect him to maybe be a 10-plus sack guy. And here's a name to remember. And then also, here's a name last year, Kalijah Cansey. He started coming on late last year, too. He was an undersized 3 technique next to Vita Vea.
The kid from Pitt.
Pitt.
He also suffered an early season injury that a lot of people disregarded him for, but he had good production towards the end.
I thought he was a liability on the run, though. Great pass rusher, but he was a liability.
Well, yeah, anytime you have a 280-pound defensive tackle, they're going to be a liability in the run. But, I mean, he's a 3 tech, and as long as he's making enough disruptive plays in the pass game to offset that, then it should be fine. It'll just, like you said, I agree there. You got a Vita Vea who needs to come off the field on pass rush, and then a guy like Cansey needs to come off the field on rundowns. So do they have the depth behind, and does that depth have a massive drop off? So there's a lot of questions with Tampa, and I agree. There's no telling they're going to repeat, and it's probably more likely than not they don't, in my opinion.
Vita Vea is an underrated pass rusher on the line.
Vita Vea.
Agreed, but he's getting old, and I think an older, heavy-set guy like him, he can still plug the run, but he is losing that quickness off the line. I mean, it's just an age. He's a stud, no doubt about it.
Man, it's his 6th year in the league. Like, you're coming on his 6th year in the league. Like, he's.
I remember him in Washington. I was like, look at this motherfucking load.
Dude, when they took him, everybody was like, "Where is this? Where is this?"
No, it was such a.
And the people that watched him were like, "Yeah, bud, just wait."
Yeah, he's a truck. He's a truck, man. He's a truck. I like it. All right, I want to get this ugly ass graphic off the page. I don't like it. Oh, this one came even worse. But we still there. But with Atlanta, new surprising regime, while Raheem Morris being announced the head coach. I thought that was a little bit of a surprising move. But Kirk Cousins gets his deal over there. I think Sharp, I'll give you some credit. You've been talking about that probably, weeks before that even happened. 8th overall pick in the draft. They got Mooney, re-signed Landman, who was a star for them last year. Their inside linebackers rotation is just ridiculous with Ellis and Anderson and now Layman there. AJ Terrell in that defense, Jesse Bates back there, Grady Jarrett up front. I think Taquan Graham had a decent year as well. But the offense is looking, pretty solid here. I didn't think this offense was as good as I guess I thought it wasn't as good. Cousins, even though I think there's been some reports of him actually starting to do some dropbacks coming off the Achilles tear, but I'm assuming he should be there. But Patterson's gone. Probably I want to say he'll be a Hall of Famer. Just for special teams wise. Special teams wise, I think he's up there, right? I think he's up there with Hester. Is he not tied with Hester?
I think he leads league in kickoff return touchdowns history.
Yeah, ever, right? I think so.
I believe so.
Yeah, but I don't know about total. Hester had a bunch of punt returns too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that, but I know he was up there with one.
He's a stud. There's no doubt about it. He's a stud.
I'm just saying as a special teamers. Special teamers, that's all. I'm not saying anything else as the player. Obviously, Mac Hollins is a name people should be familiar. He actually progressed better than I thought he would. We just signed Matt Hennessy, which Sharp kind of, paying the table on of how underrated signing that was. And the old dog still hopefully got some left in him, but he's officially still a free unrestricted.
No, he's under contract by Atlanta.
Oh, did they re-sign him? I thought I saw he was.
No, he's retired under contract. He has, if he wants to return, he gets paid the money that they owe him. Regardless, he gets paid. He's just playing football.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that part. I didn't see the retired part. I didn't know he did that. Okay.
Yeah, Campbell's been out of football for what, 2 years now? I mean,
no,
this
last
year.
He played last year.
I don't think he might have. If he played last year, I'm not sure, but I just know that I know for a fact it's. I don't think he played last year, but yeah.
I thought he played last year. Oh, maybe I might be wrong. But obviously, probably the favorites to win this division. I think they have a lot to deal with. They're changing to a 3-4, a new kind of play action type scheme. But they're the hot name, the team to beat. And I'm just wondering how you guys look at, this whole revision of the Atlanta Falcons and where you think they sit. Are they sit at the top of this division, or is it too many changes for them to make a move? Ernie B, I'll go with you, man. Start me off. Talk to me about the Atlanta Falcons. Oh yeah, and Rondé Moore. I almost forgot about that as well.
First of all, it's about damn time I got my chance. All right, now I'm
go ahead.
This is funny, and one thing is like I'm going to get back to this, and I don't want to delve too into it, but I'm kind of curious because DeMarco Helms versus Richie Grant is a thing that I would look at. They just signed Kevin King, the cornerback.
Oh yeah, the corner. I did see that.
It's a dart throw. They don't have a lot of. I mean, Kirk Cousins was their big swing, They've acquired Darnell Mooney through free agency, Rondale Moore through trade. With Drake London, I wouldn't put it past them that they're going to invest into another receiver option. You got Kyle Pitts, you got Bijan Robinson. On paper, you have a extremely loaded offense. Their offensive line.
Do you think it's loaded? I want to just like,
their offensive line? Yeah, let me just tell you, their offensive line is actually it's pretty good, man.
Well, I know the offensive line is good, headlined by Matthews, right? I know the offensive line is decent, right?
Well, but Lindstrom is like really good, really good.
Well, I guess Matthews is the sexy name, right? I'll say that.
Matthews, but like within league circles, Lindstrom is recognized as one of the top guards, interior offensive linemen in football.
That's why I said Matthews is the sexy name. But I'm looking at this receiving core, right? You know, Cousins hopefully is going to uplift Drake London into, what he is. And what I thought was interesting too, this is the third year in a row they picked number 8. I thought that was kind of funny too. Kind of weird thing. But they hit, right? Bijan was obviously a home run hit.
Did they hit? They took Kyle Pitts 4th overall over Jamar Chase. So I don't know if that's called a hit. I mean,
and then London is seeming like he's coming to his own, and obviously they had so much not turmoil, but they didn't have a caliber quarterback as Cousins, who's really going to be a veteran leader for them and can really understand how to bring guys together and run an offense. And even though I was surprised at the Raheem Morris trade, he is a good leader of men, Raheem Morris. So
his opening presser was pretty awesome. I don't know if you guys saw it, but if you want to check into that, he sets the tone very early.
Yeah, I did see that. He's talking about being excellent in every phase. Yeah, I saw that. Family.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Yeah. So when you say like, I don't see that much. Like, for me at least, like Mooney is like you said, a dart throw. He hasn't had over 1,000 yards in a couple years. You hope
Rondale Moore is too. I mean, I think Rondale Moore is more of a dart throw in his position that you're asking him to be than Darnell Mooney is. Darnell Mooney is a deep threat. He's going to be a deep threat that is a deep threat. Like.
Yes, so that's why I was saying. Like, is this offense really loaded though?
But they could take. But I'm getting at Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson with the offensive line that they have. I mean, yes, when you put Kirk Cousins in this thing, it's going to elevate everybody around him. And
yeah, I agree.
It's because of the offensive line. It's because of Bijan Robinson. Okay, it's this. There's talent in this room. It's if they.
I didn't say it wasn't talent in the room.
They could.
I don't want you to go on your tangents like you did the Arizona Cardinals now. Right.
I'm not going to. I'm telling you right now. I mean, this is a team that's favored. They're favored to win the division. And first of all, let me stand on my Cardinals take. Okay, they're not that bad.
hey! I know you're getting your feet wet still, and you're doing a hell of a job. But that Cardinals take was horrific. It was
Arizona Cardinals are not that bad. And I need to specify that as like I need a T-shirt that just says they're not that bad.
Yeah, you be the only one with that damn T-shirt outside of people in Arizona. Sharp, I'll switch to you, man. How do you feel about this this Atlanta team? Do you feel the same way Ernie B does in terms of this offense is loaded? I still think it's not, me personally, but it'd be nice to kind of see what your 2 cents is of what you see on this offense. Because don't forget, Kirk Cousins is coming off an Achilles injury.
Yeah. So if you're just, I guess I'm just going to take a leap of faith and assume that modern medicine, Cousins is Cousins, right? He's a guy that strikes me as someone who's going to do whatever he can do to, rehab. He's got a wife and kids that are willing to sacrifice. Like, I'm sure he's that dude that does hyperbaric chambers, sleeping, doing literally whatever he's got to do to make sure he's playing.
Better. He didn't stole the league. What do you got? $600 million in career?
Well, hey, let's be honest. There's some quarterbacks in the league that make the same amount of money that don't try that hard to get on the field. I'm not going to name names, but they know who they are. So I'll say this. So let's take a leap of faith and just say that I do think Cousins will be Cousins. I think Rondale Moore and Darnell Mooney are great fits. I think those are guys that can create separation, but cannot catch balls that are not accurately thrown. They don't have good hands. They don't have the ability to go up and get the football. They don't track the football well. But what can they do? They can separate and get open at the short and intermediate areas. And Cousins can deliver the football in that area.
On Mooney, though, I did read when I was doing research, Mooney hasn't had a drop, a credited drop in like over 2 years. Now, granted, there's some small sample size, but that's what the stat is.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying Mooney has bad hands. I'm saying Mooney's not a guy that's an above the rim type of receiver where you throw him open or you just throw it up, he's not open and go make some play. He's a guy that needs an anticipatory thrower. So exactly when he breaks open and creates separation, the ball's there. Does that make sense? And then he can use his speed and shiftiness to make plays from there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought you said
that
he didn't have good hands.
My Falcons take. You bring that stat up, and then you bash me on saying the Falcons have good offense.
So I will say, I do think the fact that Rondale Moore had to play with, I do think, let's just call it like it is. Justin Fields and Kyler Murray they're good football players, but they play helter-skelter. They don't play structured football, and that is what Rondale Moore and Darnell Mooney need, structured football. And I think Cousins is going to give them structured football. And it'll probably be the best versions of themselves. And I think if you're looking at Pitts, Moore, Mooney, London, and Bijan Robinson all being the best versions of themselves because of the knowledge and the accuracy that Cousins can bring, then you're looking at a really good offense. And the last thing I'll say about this team before I just say something real quick on defense, the number one thing I love, they didn't do a single thing on offensive line. Cohesiveness on the offensive line is so crucial. The same 5 guys eating and drinking beer together, watching tape together. It's like a brotherhood. When there's a missing link, you bring in a new link. That personality doesn't always fit, and it can cause problems. The fact that they've got the same 5 guys who know how to block together, that's going to be I feel like Cousins is going to be a really good football player.
So rounding it all off, as we kind of look at the betting show, I think you've said multiple times Dallas Turner for sure here. Has that changed at all?
I'll take Dallas Turner, but I will still stand on the sense that I'm not going to throw away, and I'll stay on this. I'm not going to throw away Quinyon Mitchell here. I won't throw away the chance that there's a possibility that they could take Mitchell. Now, it's Turner or Mitchell for me, though. Yeah.
Sharp.
I actually think this team could use a trade back. I think when you're looking at a Dallas Turner and a Chop Robinson, we keep talking about this, like if somehow they're not in love with Dallas Turner, because I will say this about Dallas Turner. He's 245 pounds. So he's not a 3-down player. So
am I wrong for bringing up Nolan Smith when talking about Dallas Turner? Like, it's just like it just.
Yes, that's not a good comparison. Dallas Turner. Dallas. No, let's not do that. Let's just go. Let's not go off tangent. Dallas Turner way more refined than Nolan Smith. But I will say this: I don't think the gap between Dallas Turner and Chop Robinson is enough where sliding back from 8 to 22 isn't worth doing, because I actually think Chop Robinson is more explosive than Dallas Turner. I just think Dallas Turner knows how to finish right now. And I think finishing it can be teachable. So I actually think Atlanta's in the possibility of trading back. Quinyon Mitchell's a really good player, but when I look at their roster, like they lack so much explosiveness in the front 7. If they were to pass on a front 7 player for a corner, to me, it'd be making a massive mistake.
Yeah, I like
the line up right now with Clark Phillips as their outside corner, as the opposite AJ Terrell.
Okay.
Yeah, I still like the pass rusher though. Which you kind of always stood on that, because they're switching to a 3-4, and they need a dog on the end. And they just don't have a player like that, I think.
They have James. They brought in James Smith-Williams from Washington, who I like, but he's a serviceable 5 tech. They've got Arnold Ebiketie, he's not stopping Dallas Turner from starting. And then they have Nate Landman. Like, come on.
Lorenzo Carter is the other pass rusher there.
I didn't mean Nate Landman. That's what I meant. Lorenzo. Exactly.
A veteran Eastern journeyman pass rusher.
Right. Exactly my point. So I think in that instance, you would be looking to upgrade those spots over a Clark Phillips.
And I think Turner is the pick over Verse for the Falcons at 8 purely because of scheme fit. I don't see much of a ceiling difference.
But if I were running the Falcons, I'm trading back because, again, I can just trade back with the Eagles. They'd want to come up for Quinyon Mitchell. I can trade back and get Chop Robinson at 22 and add like pick 50. I mean, it's just like
Uncle Trevor found every way to make his scenario work.
Well, no. I will say this.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
And I will say this. And I will say this before it's not just Quinyon Mitchell. I feel the same way about Troy Fontanu. The Eagles need to draft one of those two players, and I've been told I've been told those are the two top players on their board as well. I'll leave it at that.
I hear you.
He ain't lying. As much as I hate to say it, fucking
the Washington offensive lineman and the Toledo corner are the top two players on the Philadelphia Eagles board. I'll tell you that right now. That's just like that's really not. That's like the person I told that like helps set the board. Like. That's their top two players. Now, can they go get them? I don't know.
Yeah. So staying in the NFC South, we won't go too much on the Eagles tangent, but staying in.
But I just think Atlanta can trade back. I don't think they're that close to winning it.
Yeah, I get it. No, I'm
not. It also argues what you're saying though is like you set us up with the Falcons are really not that good, but we're coming back with hold up. You know what I mean? Like they're good enough to trade back, in my opinion. I agree with you. Like I think they're good enough in this position where look at the rest of the division, man. All we do is talk shit about the rest of the teams. You're talking about a Falcons roster that genuinely has the chance to propel themselves through the draft, where the rest of the teams don't have that opportunity. They have to sustain through the draft.
Well, I mean, Carolina stinks, right? And New Orleans, like we already talked about, is in purgatory. So it's really between Tampa and Atlanta. And what I was saying it's hard for teams to have new schemes, new regimes, new quarterbacks, for that just to kind of kick over and that automatically be successful, coming in. It might take a year or two for them to kind of get their own footing. Now the division's so bad where this, 9-8 wins the division. I think that's what Tampa was last year, right? I think they won it with 9-8. So I'm not saying, I just said when you said this offense was explosive, that's what
this offense is going to put up numbers.
That's what I was saying. I was like, I didn't really see that because, I mean, London is like Sharp kind of said, an above the rim type guy. Is London really an explosive receiver? I mean, I don't think.
No, but Rondell Moore and Darnell Mooney are.
Yeah, they got wheels, but they don't actually have the production to match the wheels. Mooney hasn't been anything in a couple of years. So
Jefferson was a slot receiver in 2020, man, coming out. Just the major media.
But Kirk Cousins changes that conversation.
Exactly.
And I get that. Exactly. So Kirk Cousins changes that. He's coming off an injury, so we'll see where it is. That's what I'm saying. I'm not just stamping in that they're explosive. I need to see it first. I need to see the production first. That's kind of all I'm saying. But to wrap it up on the NFC South, I'll give you the betting numbers right now. Sharp, pull the trigger on one. Obviously, we'll just do the top two. I don't think there's any value on the other ones. Atlanta is minus 115. Tampa's plus 300. Who you like? Obviously it's easy to say Tampa's value, but if you got 5 units to put on this division, who you betting? Not saying this is your bet, hypothetically, if you had to make a pick here.
So 2 things. I mean, obviously for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm taking Atlanta. I think this is going to be a Tom Brady to Tampa, just not going to win the Super Bowl. But I do think Cousins is totally going to change the culture, the accountability, just everything about the offense. I love the additions. The defense is the question mark. I think they're a couple pieces away. That's why I think Atlanta should trade back. I don't think they're just a Tristan Wirfs away, which is basically all Tampa was at the time. Then they brought in Gronk. I do think Atlanta's a couple more pieces away. This is my favorite bet for Atlanta. I personally bet it. It's on DraftKings. It's plus 850. You can do half a unit. You can do 1 unit. We love the plus 850 value here on Money Pot. Atlanta Falcons to score 1 passing touchdown in every regular season game. That's it. Nothing crazy. Most of their games are going to be in warm weather or indoors. They don't play a terribly many defenses. They got weapons galore. Bijan Robinson likes to catch the ball in the red zone, and Kirk Cousins does not run the ball in the red zone. Kirk Cousins loves to pass the ball in the red zone. They have Drake London and Pitts, 2 6'6" basketball players. I'm telling you right now, one passing touchdown for 17 games pays $850 to 1. I mean, come on.
It's an interesting bet. Interesting bet. Ernie B, take us home. I got another bet for you here.
All right.
We'll switch it up. So we're not doing the same bet. Regular season wins, Atlanta Falcons, over and under 9.5. 9.5 is right now -140. Under is +110.
Well, the value there is, I'm going the over. They're winning 10 games. I think they're winning 10 games.
You're
and
just too
it's not
positive in
life. It's not even gonna be a question, man. It's not even gonna be a question.
Over 10 games. Who do they play? Who's on their schedule? I don't even know who they play.
Well, they got the Panthers twice, and they got the Bucks twice, and they got the Saints twice. So right there, that's a few wins. It's just, I'm telling you, man, they're not bad. And shout out a personal guy of me and C Sharp. Tommy Togiai was, I believe, claimed off waivers last year, but he's a backup nose tackle for the Falcons this year. And Tommy Togiai is a guy I really like. So as far as a personal, just a personal guy.
Yeah, he might add for another win to get you over your bet.
Kentavious Street's there, bro. Kentavious Street from trade last year. That's at least half a win. So come on, we're not game changers here, bro. We're not game changers. But I mean, I'm serious, man. The Falcons are gonna do a little something.
All right. So thank everybody who was joined. I did see a couple people join in and out here. Wish you guys would have gave us some comments, but it's all good. We'll catch you on the replay, on the comments. We have one more division to go, and then the off season of every division is finished. We did some mock drafts. We'll decide if we'll do another mock draft.
We should be able to get one more in. I feel like we got to get one more in, maybe with a few of us involved, or at least Ernie B's, and maybe Ernie B solo, however you guys want to do that. We got to get Ernie B out there.
We got to do one last mock. I mean, it's got
one last mock. We'll sneak it in there. The draft is the 26th, 4th,
24th, 5th, and 6th, I believe.
Yeah,
24th to the 26th. So not too far away, ladies and gentlemen. So that's C Sharp. That's Ernie B. I am Moss Money. We will see you next week. And keep a lookout for the notifications. We'll figure out if we're going to do the mock next week or we will do the NFC North to finish it all off. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. We will see you next week.